on, and we are live. Perfect. Alrighty. So I am here with an absolutely fascinating individual, an author of multiple books, and really just the go-to knowledge on all things rivers in Virginia. Uh, Bruce, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I know you're a super busy man. Could you just really talk to me about how this all started? How did you become an author and spend so much time dedicating so much of your life to such a great concept?
Well, my wife, the reason I became a writer was not any high-minded ideals. My wife Elaine and I, when we got married, we were both school teachers, and we'd been married a couple years, and it was so hard to save any money on a school teacher's salary. So we began, and then we wanted to have children, and the babies were coming, and we were talking about one of us needed to have a second job, and my life goals in order were to marry a really great woman, which I had done, to have kids, which we were having we have two children, and I wanted to be a high school English teacher. Is what I wanted. And I'd gotten that too, and then my other goals were to become my fourth and fifth goals were to become a writer and also to have a house out in the country with land. And so when Elaine and I were debating on who should take a second job, I felt like I should be the one to do it, and I could pursue that goal of becoming a writer. And we were living in a little, a typical starter home. So I I started. I the first story I did, I wrote about chain pickerel, which is not a major game fish, of course.
Was this a newspaper, or did you just personally write it just
No,
for
I
yourself?
wrote it.
Okay.
Okay, and I showed it to my principal at the time. He said it was no good, nobody would buy it. And he said, I'm just trying to be honest with you, Bruce. And so I thought, well, what does he know? So I sent it into Virginia Wildlife, which is the magazine I grew up reading, and they bought it for $50. And I was just overwhelmed. This was in 1981. So I thought, well, I'll try to write some more. And the next 8 or 9 stories I wrote for magazines were all rejected. And I wrote them in 81, I wrote them in 82, and finally I thought, I'm not going to write anymore. My principal was right, I can't write. And so I hadn't written anything for a year and a half, and it was November of 83, I guess it was. And a friend of mine at Camp Eustis Hill, which is a camp for disabled, for uh, physically challenged kids, and the caretaker there, Graylin Alley, was a good friend of Elaine and myself. And he said we were having a special hunt for men in wheelchairs. And would I come over and do a magazine story on it?
So cool.
And I said, Graylin, I've only done one, and nobody else will buy it, and nobody's going to buy any stories of me. I've tried and tried. And he said, well, give it one more shot because this is really a great idea. And at that time, this thing of helping out disabled folks hunt or fish was not something people were doing. And I complained and complained. I said, I'll come, but nobody's going to buy it. So I went over there to the camp, interviewed some of the gentlemen and who were hunting, and took pictures. And Braylon said, where are you going to send it off to? And I said, I'll just send it off to Outdoor Life. And at that time, they were called the Big Three: Field and Stream, Outdoor Life, Sports, and Field. And he said, wow, you're gonna do this for Outdoor Life? I'm gonna send it to Outdoor Life. That's a big difference.
Wow, that's awesome, dude. That's fantastic.
And he said, so I sent it away. 2 weeks later, I get this letter back. Dear Mr. Ingram, um, we're so sorry to hear that you're having to hunt from a wheelchair. And of course, we'll buy your story. I had written the story so poorly that the editor at Outdoor Life thought I was the one in a wheelchair, which was very embarrassing that my writing skills were so poor. So I wrote him back and said, Dear His name was George Haas, and I, I didn't mean to deceive you. I, I was the one covering this for the other men, and uh, please forgive me for the poor writing. And he said, no problem. We're going to send you a check for the story, and listen, we'll help you get better. We need somebody to cover Virginia for us, and you could be that person. And so I said, well, you're going to help me write better. He said, yes, we'll mentor
But it's
you.
so cool because I tell kids all the time, like, if you work hard, opportunities will come, and you are the right place at the right time.
I was incompetent, and somebody helped me out.
That's one way to look at it. I mean,
so I thought maybe I need to take a writing course to help me get better writing skills. And because things weren't going so great, it was a pity sale, in other words. And so I took a class at Hollins College, and with all these other budding writers. And the professor asked why we were here. And he was going around the room asking everybody that. And the first person said, I want to write poems that will make the world weep. And the second one said, I want to write the next great American novel. And then the third one says, I want to write essays that will change the world. They were all had very high-minded ideals, which is admirable. And then he gets to me, and he said, Bruce, why do you want to write? And I said, I need a second job. And my wife and I are struggling financially. And, I could just hear everybody in there deflate because I was writing for money, and they were all writing for ideals, which is wonderful, but it doesn't feed the bulldog, as the old saying goes. So he assigned us something to write. He said, write about what you know, which is always good advice, and turn it in for next week. So with my skills being what they were, I decided I would write about stream fishing, which is something I know. And the professor said, write about what you know. And this time, for the first time of the three stories, I really felt like I was sort of getting the idea of what to do. So I write it up, bring it in next week. He says, he's raving about the poet. The professor's raving about the poet, raving about the essays, raving about the short stories. And he comes to mind and says, this is not what I wanted. And he said, you need to rewrite this for next week. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to do that. I really like this. I think it was, I feel like I'm getting the hang of it now. And I didn't say that to the professor, but this is what I was saying mentally. So I thought, I'm going to send it to the editor of Virginia Wildlife, who's, bought something from me 2 years ago. She's rejected a bunch of stuff, but I feel like I'm getting better now. And so I sent it to Virginia Wildlife. And 3 days later, I get something back in the mail. 3 or 4 days later, she says, hey, this is great. And I'm going to buy this. And with that confidence that Outdoor Life had given me and the Virginia Wildlife had given me, I made my third sale.
that's
so
awesome.
We get back to class the next week, and he said, did you write that story? Rewrite that story like I asked. I said, no, sir, I didn't. He said, well, why not? He's getting a little sharp with me because I'm not writing like everybody else. I'm not writing poems. I'm not writing short stories. I'm not writing essays. And he says, I sold it to a magazine. And they want me to do some more work for them. So
Dang, man.
Yeah, I know. I was living dangerously.
That room must have felt like tension.
Yeah, there was a little tension. I said, besides, sir, I can't rewrite it because I don't own the rights to it anymore. The magazine has bought the rights to it, and I'll write something else for you. Well, from then on, the professor, by the way, had never had anything published. So,
you should be teaching the classes, what it sounds like.
Well, there's a lot of irony in that he, and so I'll have one more anecdote from the college class. I was the only one in there that got a B for the class, and I sold several more stories while I was in there. He didn't like those either. So I thought, I'm making money. This is what I came for.
It worked out. It got you to where you needed to be.
And yeah, so but the class didn't help me. But I just moved on from that. And all these my my bylines started appearing in Outdoor Life, and they named me the Virginia editor for Outdoor Life, which I was. They had back then. Outdoor Life had a state editor in every state, and I was the Virginia one. And so they had me going all over the place in Virginia and West Virginia. I took over West Virginia too, and they were paying me uh, to write a small newsy blurb for Virginia and West Virginia every month rather, and to do a feature, a where to go feature in both states, probably 5 or 6 times a year for each, and that was steady money.
That's awesome.
And then I thought, well, if I'm right, with my byline appearing in Outdoor Life, other editors started contacting me, and then the next thing, by
Now, at this point, I didn't mean to cut you off, sir.
Go
Are
ahead.
you still working 2 jobs at
Oh,
this
yeah.
point? Okay.
I love being a school teacher. Look, I'll be 71 in April, and I'm still teaching high school English.
That's impressive how you compartmentalize and organize your life to be able to write and then be a teacher, because it's hard dedication work to be a teacher.
Yes, but I love my job. I love working with kids. I know Father Time is undefeated, as the saying goes, and I know one day, I'm going to have to retire. I hope it's not this year. Again, I'll be 71 in April, but I really feel this has been my life calling to teach young people. I really, really enjoy it. Um, my schedule the last couple of years, the 2 classes they've given me to teach has been English 10 Honors, which is my favorite all-time class to teach. That grade has so many great literature of Mice and Men, Lord of the Flies, Hamlet. I mean,
Glad they keep teaching that in school, though. That's good.
those are great novels and plays to teach. I also do Grapes of Wrath. Um, uh, I mean, it's just a really good. Lord Buttercup's a really good school, and I signed a letter of intent to come back next year. And I hope, you know, my wife and I always sit down in May of every year to discuss. Elaine's been retired since 2008, 2009 school year. So, I mean, she wants me to be happy with the teaching. I know also she probably want to travel more than we do. And when we travel now, it's just for stories.
And if I may ask, what age group are you teaching?
Well, I 10th grade honors, so I'll be teaching 10th graders. I also teach creative writing at the school. This semester, for example, I'm teaching 2 classes of creative writing, and one of English 10 honors.
Wow.
So we're on the semester schedule, so we only teach all the classes are 90 minutes long. So we only teach 3 classes and have a planning period. But the kids get for a semester's work, because we're meeting for an hour and a half every day, they get a credit for a class. They get credits for classes every semester they attend. So, yeah, I really enjoy teaching. I really enjoy writing. I really enjoy the books. Doing the books, I really have 3 jobs. But, you know, I like being busy. I like being a teacher, which is a meaningful job. And I like doing things in the outdoors. I don't really feel like I'm working, which is
Well, that's the perfect place to be in your life, where it's not work to show up every day and do it.
yeah. I don't feel like being retired from teaching. I mean, I don't think I would be happy at this point. I know I can't do this forever, but I know I can't write forever. But I want to keep doing for the time being what I'm doing.
And guys, I'm hoping in 2023 I can either go down to his house, we can meet somewhere, and we can do a more in-depth interview, because I know you're pinched for time. You probably have a line at your booth already because you're a celebrity. If you could, though, I would love you to tell the audience about your books real quick. and where they can purchase them if they can't get down here.
Well, you can purchase them from my website, which is Bruce Ingram Outdoors. There's information on that on how to purchase the books. You can contact me directly at my Gmail address, which is listed on the website, Bruce Ingram Outdoors at Gmail. And yeah, if you want signed copies, that's the way you should do it. And it's better to contact me, I think, because when somebody buys one online from somebody else, I get probably less than $1 per book. So please feel free to contact me if you want a book. Now, you also wanted me to talk about how I got started in the books.
Yes, sir, if you have time.
Okay. So when I was doing where to go features for Outdoor Life, one of the stories that I went to go do, and this was back in the 80s, was on the Rappahannock River. And I'd grown up near the James. When I first got my driver's permit, I guess the first place I went was the James River to fish that for the first time. And so Elaine and I were traveling all around to fish, canoe fish, various rivers. And so we went to the Rappahannock. And after the canoe livery put us on, they said we would have to, it was a 3-day float, and we would have to, we camp out on the night. We were prepared for all that. But while we were on the river, it was a horrible, horrible storm.
Oh, wow.
Thunderstorm. And the river started getting muddy, it started getting higher, and we were scared. And we pulled up our canoe to this bank, hauled it up as far as we got, and sat under some trees while it was storming. And we thought, this is not stopping. And finally, we decided we were going to make a run for it, metaphorically, I guess, to the access point, which was way downstream. But we didn't feel like we had any choice because we couldn't. We'd have to walk miles back through a forest and abandon all our stuff, and walk back to find them. Who knows how many days later? So we got in the boat. We didn't know where we were. There was no maps, no books. There were no books at the time period that would take you down a river. We get down to the river. The next day it does flood. We make the right decision to leave, but Elaine is we were both scared. And so I began to think over the next couple of years that I should write a book on the James River, telling folks mile by mile where they were and what were landmarks and what were the rapids and where the access points were and everything. And so in 1996, I started the book, and for 2 years, I floated the entire length of the James from where it starts, where Elaine and I live in Botetourt, down to the Richmond area.
So if I'm not mistaken, it was 2 years from you first putting, pen to paper to publishing?
No, it didn't get published. The book, it's called the James River Guide, which is, here it is.
And then, guys, I'll put the nicer camera right there. Isn't that crazy?
So I started sending it around to publishing companies. And just like when I started doing the magazine thing, I got nothing but rejection. The first 6 publishing companies I sent it to all rejected it. And so 2 years have gone by. And I've got this finished book, and the year 2000, nobody bought it. And so I sent it to a 7th place, and the editor says the book is written so poorly that I can't accept it. She says, but the idea of having a float guide on the James River is a good one, and I want you to hire somebody to rewrite the book for you. Rewrite the book because it's clear that you can't communicate very well.
How did that make you feel?
Felt me really bad. And she said my book, she said she had 2 other criticisms besides the poor writing. She said my book was too violent.
Violent?
about what she said that I constantly wrote about things like fish smashing lures or uh, big fish eating little fish. And she said I needed to tone down the violence. And I said, well, ma'am, big fish eat little fish, and fish hit
Yeah,
lures. I
yeah.
mean, that's sometimes they actually smash them. And she said, it's too violent. And I said, well, okay. And then she also um, wanted the book to be a coffee table book. And I said, no, no, the book needs to be paperback so people can put it in their dry bag and take it out when they're going down the river. And it's going to be too expensive if you make it into a hardback. And she says, no, I want it to be available on people's coffee tables and that type of book. That's not. I said, ma'am, that's not who's going to use this book. These people who are going to buy this book want to get out on the river, and they're going to want to take the book with them and have it in their dry bag and take it out. They get confused so they can use it. It's not going to be sitting at home. They're going to take it with them. She says, no, I want it to be a coffee table type book.
But there's the issue.
And I said, and you're going to charge, $30 for it. I said, that's too much, you know. So we're bickering. And she said, that's what it's going to be. Hire somebody to fix it. You're not capable of fixing it. So
Wow.
She hung up, and I heard of a publisher out in Oregon that was publishing river guides. And so I thought, I'm going to call them. It's been 2 years, I know this book will sell. So I cold called the publisher, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to send a proposal in for a book. You're not supposed to call them and tell them about your book. I was so angry at that editor, told me all that stuff. So I said, look, I've got a book here. This is a new idea. It's a great idea. This is Virginia's most popular river. And I promise you, if the first press run of however many copies that you print doesn't sell out in 5 years, I'll buy every one of them. But I said, this is going to sell. And he said, you convinced me. And the editor said over the phone, you've convinced me. I'm going to buy your book. And I was
That's
shocked.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was amazing. But this is not how it's done. And so the book came out a few months later. I went to a local fly shop to have my first book signing with it. I had 45 or 50 books with me. And when I got there was a line of people extending back to the parking lot to buy it. And 2 hours later, I'd sold all 45 or 50
That's
of the books.
amazing. When you think of when you went to a writing class and way back then, and now you have a line out the door for your product.
Yeah.
That is such a cool just story arc.
And in 2 months, the first press run of 2,000 copies sold out. The publisher calls me after the book had been out a month. He says, we've already sold 1,000 copies. And then another month later, they sold 1,000 more. He says, I'm going to rush and print some more of these things up right before we run out. And he was just euphoric. He said, what's your next book? And he says, what do you want to do next? And I said, well, the next closest river to me is the New River. He said, sold, go do it. And so I started on the New River book that day. And two years later, I finished floating the entire New in North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, which was really hard because it's 3 states and a lot of float trips, including the New River Gorge. And so that came out and that hit the market, and boom, it was selling like crazy too. And then he said, what's number 3? And I said, well, the next closest river is the South Fork of the Shenandoah and the main stem. He says, get started. And so, and then, then I was on.
It's so cool, guys. This is why the backstory is so important. It adds so much more to what you went through, and every rejection, every time you felt like, they don't think you're a good writer, and then now you're like the best-selling. You are the author at this time right now for the river systems. It is so fascinating. And one thing is, I have a question is, when you have this 2-year gap, this 2-year window, and you're floating, are you writing the story as you go, or are you making notes, and then when you're done with your float of the whole stem, then you write?
The best way to do this is when you take, and I was going up to it took me 2 years to do the South Fork and Main Stem of the Shenandoah book, which is standard, 2 years of taking trips. And, let me go back. I floated these rivers before a lot. I was going up there, I was fishing all these rivers, all three of these rivers every year anyway for magazine stories. And so I had built up this store of anecdotes and trip impressions, as I was doing this. So I I found that the best way to write something up on a particular float was to write it as soon as I came home.
Okay.
Because then the anecdotes are fresh, and then you can recall on past anecdotes. Another thing I've always done is take notes. Every single smallmouth that I catch on these river trips, 12 inches or better, I record in a log. So I have a record of every 12-inch smallmouth I've ever caught since I became a writer. What time of day, what was the lure, um, and then I make on what trip it was on, and that's a lot of data. And I've used that data to generate other stories, and I use that data in the books to, I can actually say at 2:30 I was running a buzzbait and caught this 14.5 incher.
Wow.
On the South Fork of the Shenandoah. And I can write that 10 years after it happens because of all these notes I took when it happened. So that's really helped me to have those logs, and it helped in writing the books as well. I wrote the next time I did the book on the South Branch of the Potomac and the Main Stem. Then I did a how-to book on fly and spin fishing for smallmouth. And after that was over, that period was over, honestly, I wanted to move on. I covered the major rivers in Virginia and West Virginia.
You did it.
Yeah. And I wanted to do something else. And the year was my wife Elaine had breast cancer in 2008 and had gone through the treatment, of course. And the year is 2015 by then. And I couldn't think of what I wanted to do the next book on. And when Elaine had breast cancer, she hired a Laura Pohl, who's a professional chef and also an oncology health specialist. And Laura had told Elaine that she needed to start eating either organic domestic meat or wild game. And I was killing about 5 or 6 deer every year.
Wow.
At that time.
Wow.
But I was the one mostly eating it. And there's nothing wrong, obviously, with eating beef or pork, but I made the decision that the only red meat I was going to eat was what I killed myself. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. I just wanted to be responsible for my own food. And after Laura Pohl told Elaine that, she said, well, I'm going to start eating like you do. And I'm just going to go all organic with the venison. And so we calculated how many deer I would have to kill for both of us. And it was 10. So every year since then, I've either killed 10 or 11 deer in Virginia and West Virginia. I hunt both states.
Wow.
And so that led to the Living the Local or Lifestyle book.
And then it's this one right.
And it's filled with venison recipes that Elaine wrote. And then we put, there's also recipes on cooking wild turkey and squirrels and rabbits. And that became the next book, which was the easiest one. She co-wrote it with me. She did the recipes, of course. And it also covers how to raise chickens, which we were doing.
Oh, cool. And
it also covers the wild fruits and nuts in this region, and with recipes and how to prepare them and how to identify them. A couple of mushroom species that are very popular are in there as well. And that book came out in 2015 or 16, I guess it was. And after that, there's no Locavore 2, so to speak. So I began thinking about what I could do next, and I thought I would write young adult fiction because I teach young adults, which led to me writing the Ninth Grade Blues, which is about 4 ninth graders in their freshman year of high school. And the publisher liked it, and then ordered 10th grade angst, and 11th grade stress, and 12th grade hopes and fears.
You're a machine.
Yeah. So, whoops.
Oh, you're fine. This is live streamed. Yeah, go for it. And then, guys,
my wife asked, somebody up there wants to speak to me about buying the book.
Go for it, sir.
I'll be right back.
Okay, sounds good. Guys, again, this is Bruce Ingram, by the way. He has wrote amazing books on the Shenandoah, Rappahannock. We have the New River right here that he actually produced, as well as the South Branch, the Potomac, and the James River as well. He's one of the only authors that have actually, really tried to tackle the idea of writing about every single river in the Virginia area with all the places that you can put in and put out. Again, link in the description when this gets re-uploaded with how you can actually get there, how you can order his book. Let me make a text real quick. So how's everybody doing today? So just to kind of give you a sit rep while we wait for Bruce to come back, we have a bunch of interviews all day long. Do you guys like it when I leave the live stream up or when I turn the live stream off and start a brand new live stream? Please let me know down below. We have a couple more interviews. I have another interview scheduled for 11 o'clock that we'll be doing as well. And then we're also going to be doing a fundraiser for all the casting kids as well. We got Bruce back. He is a big-time celebrity right now. So, Bruce, I don't want to keep you much longer. Hopefully this year I can come down to your place or something. We can do a little bit longer of an interview because I'm fascinated by all of this and how much dedication and discipline it takes to not just become a best author of one book, but just to be able to crank them out like you do is just absolutely, it's astonishing, and you should be absolutely proud of yourself. It's amazing what you've been able to do. So.
Well, got one more little tidbit to share. After the young adult fiction was over, I decided to jump genres again. And my 11th book is supposed to be out later this year sometime. I decided I wanted to try another genre, and I wrote a children's picture book.
Wow.
The working title is Wishing Horrible Holidays for Your Horribly Good Brothers and Sisters. And it's a revenge book by this little kid, somewhere between 4 and 8, and he wishes all these plagues upon his brothers and sisters. And so every time there's a holiday, something he torments them by having these creatures come visit them. And sometimes it's a skunk, sometimes it's jellyfish, sometimes it's very angry rabbits.
And then this will be available on your website as well for order?
When it comes out, yes.
Okay. And then if you, what would be better for you guys is if you call you and then get it that way?
Email me.
Email? Okay. And then, guys, I'll get the email, and I'll put it in the episode description when this re-uploads, so you can email him if you want to get any of his literature. Again, guys, this is Bruce Ingram. He's written a book on every major river in Virginia. Absolutely fantastic author, a brilliant mind. Bruce, thank you so much again for coming on.
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate it. Guys, we're going to take a short commercial break, and then we will be back.
on my property. You didn't win shit in my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Ahrens and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Yeah, we're ready for him. Hello, everybody. Again, welcome back to day 3 of the Richmond Fishing Expo. We are live here at booth 89. It's been a heck of a weekend. I'm going to spin a camera around real quick. Sorry about this. I actually really love this little dongle thing. It makes life a little bit easier to get some. There we go. So now we got more views, guys. I would like, Carly, step in front of the camera real quick. So huge shout out to my lovely wife for helping us out all weekend. It's been a crazy time. Right now, debuted was the re-upload of the Alex DWR. I cannot speak this morning. Good God. The DWR interview I had yesterday was absolutely amazing. We have some short feed coming out too. It's absolutely been a wonderful time. I'm so blessed to be here. Now, we have a special going on today. This is very important. I need everyone to listen up. Huh? Yes, extremely important. Hear me out, guys. We got tasked with raising money for the kids casting, the youth kids casting program. The Bass Federation puts this on. They wanted to see if we could raise $100 for the Bass Federation casting kids. I told them if we can raise $100, I would match it. And this is why it's so important. 2 of the gentlemen that run it said if we can raise $100, they will do a trout fishing competition at the end where somebody has to take a plunge into the pond. Okay? So, all today, we're going to be asking for super chats, any way to raise just $100. I will match that. So, we will have $200 for the Casting Kids youth program that the Bass Federation puts on. And we're going to have a fishing competition at the end of the day in the trout pond where one has in particularly not great situation they have to deal with. So, again, how you donate is you go to the super chat function on YouTube, make a donation. All the money goes straight to the Bass Federation who run the Casting Kids competition. Again, we're trying to raise $100, and I will match that donation. So we have a bunch of interviews lined up. We just had David Ingram on, who is a fantastic published author. We also have Heroes on the Water coming on at 1 p.m. And then we have an individual, Mr. Headley Lures. He is a wood bait guru, absolutely brilliant man who has tons and tons of beautiful handcrafted baits. Then also this morning that just got re-uploaded was the Alex interview from the Department of Wildlife Resources. A fantastic guest. Absolutely loved him, by the way. He's so insightful what they're doing at the DWR. And then we also have a bunch of short content that my lovely wife is putting out. Some brilliant, young, talented anglers were able to go out there yesterday, win tackle boxes at the Casting Kids competition. And then we have a couple more guests coming on between now and 1 p.m. that we're going to be getting on for you. What are you guys doing right now? And what do you guys want to see, by the way? Are you guys watching football? Are you guys getting out of church? Are you guys going to be coming down and seeing me? I'm at booth 89 right now at the Richmond Expo. We will have guests on all day long. If there's something in particular you would like me to see, please let me know, and I'll make that happen. Let's see who we got right here. Guests on. And then this week we have a bunch of different guests on. I'm going to have Jeff Green of Upper Potomac. He's going to be on again. We have a new river guest that's going to be coming on as well. It's going to be pretty crazy right now. Let me get a drink real quick while I put this on. Hold on. All right, sorry about that, guys. I had to take a drink of water real quick, and I didn't have a water right by me. Carly, you want to sit down real quick, and you can help me talk? Let's see. So, did I say everything correctly when I said I said everything right about the nonprofit, correct? Yeah.
Said everything right about what?
The nonprofit.
You mean over here with
Yeah.
the Bass Federation?
Yeah, Bass Federation.
Yeah, I don't know if you actually explain like what they're gonna do if we do raise this money.
Let's get somebody over there to actually explain that,
We should
because
talk to them. Right now they're trying to sell tickets.
right. Oh my
They're
God.
a little bit busy. What?
Scott Fowler, thank you so much.
Shout
Anything for the
out.
kids, $9 or $10. Thanks, Thomas and Jared, for everything you guys do. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, I don't think, and we'll turn. I haven't had a chance this morning to set up my third camera, but the casting kids are literally
busy over
right
there.
next to us.
They're putting in work.
Brandon Solis, shoot, wasn't the first one. Keep up the great work for $20.
Nice.
So I'm not good at math, but we are getting close to that. No, we're not. We're almost to 50. We're almost halfway to our goal of raising $100 for the casting kids competition. And again, if you guys didn't know, I'm going to turn her camera real quick. That's the casting kids booth right there. We're going to get a camera on them. I'll get my backup camera set up, and we'll go get them to talk a little bit more about the charity and what we're raising.
Yeah.
How's that sound?
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is grab somebody real quick.
Keep in mind we only need $70 more.
Yep, I'm going to grab somebody real quick. Carly's going to talk to the camera.
I am.
Yep, get it right here.
Hello, everyone. We've been extremely busy all weekend long. I've been out there recruiting likes and subscriptions, so hopefully we got some more followers here this weekend. We appreciate every one of you who have been liking everything. Can't look at myself in the camera or I get camera shy. Yeah, we've had some great interviews lined up. We are absolutely thrilled with the interactions from just the people that have come to check us out, or the people that have come to support us, or even those that actually want to get in on the show. Some of those people just walk up and they're like, hey, we love you. We've watched all of your episodes and everything like that. And then we try to get them on the show. And they're not 100% on board with that. So I think some people are going to take a little bit more coaxing because they are also camera shy, kind of like me. But I think once we just show that we've got nothing but love for all those people that want to come on the show, they will be a little bit more apt to sit down and talk on camera and not think too much about it. But again, thank you so much. I think Tom is trying to set up the camera right now so you guys can watch I have to read it every time, Bass Federation, the kids casting group. They had a cute little competition yesterday where they handed out awards. Each kid that got involved got a brand new rod, and a trophy or a tackle box or something to take home. It was absolutely adorable. I think the youngest was 4 years old. We did kid interviews afterwards, and their reactions were priceless. So right now we've got some kids right now that are over there with their targets and their rods and trying to cast and get points. I guess they're doing another one today, which would make sense. But it's just extremely adorable. I think the age range is basically from 4 up until like 18, I would assume. And these kids are killing it. They're super involved. We also have this trout pond that I just keep wandering off to watch. I like to see the different kids come in and try and catch these trout. Some have never held a rod before in their lives, and then others, you can tell have, their parent or grandparent standing right behind them, kind of like coaxing them or coaching them through. And they've been catching a lot of fish, believe it or not. I would have thought by the third day that they would be exhausted, like the fish would be exhausted and not want to, jump on these baits anymore. But I just keep getting distracted by people pulling fish out of the pond over and over again. So really, really fun. If you do make it out here today, definitely try the trout pond out, or at least just come watch for a little while. You get 5 minutes, it's like $4. I know it sounds expensive, but it's an experience. And then we've also got the local DWR, a couple booths down from us. They are just a wealth of knowledge if you want to stop in and talk to them about anything going on locally, wildlife.
Dude, I mean, I think it's really where it's now. I'm almost done.
Okay. He said keep talking.
I have a couple of guests lined up. I have
The
one
seminars. There have been so many seminars. I haven't been able to make it to all of them. There, I believe, is about 3 to 4 different rooms separated from the actual expo center, and each one has a seminar going on basically all day long from start to finish. There's somebody in there talking for 45 minutes to an hour all day long about different kinds of fishing, boats. We've got the massive water tank where the pros get up there and show you how to make casts and talk about, I just hit him on the head, and talk about what they're throwing these days. And it has just been super fun to basically just make my rounds all day long these past 3 days now, and just hop into each of those booths and just listen for a couple of minutes, and you learn so much. So definitely makes it worth coming out here, even if you don't find anything you want to purchase or feel like you need to make the trip worth it.
I'm ready.
You're ready? I'm ready.
I was trying to put this on my Facebook, but they made it. Oh, there it is. Made it public. Finally got this thing public, guys. So Facebook was being a pain in the butt. I was trying to post this to my private. What the hell's wrong with my chair? There we go. Sorry, I was trying to make the. Is this chair possessed? What the hell's going on with the chair?
Just calm down.
Sorry, that was a little weird. Let me get this thing right here, and then I'm gonna hand this to my lovely wife so she can post on my personal. Just say, hey guys, we're trying to raise $100 for the youth program. Head on over to my YouTube channel and donate. Guys, it is getting absolutely crazy here the last day. We are waiting for our next guest to show up. While we do, you're just gonna be stuck with my completely horrendous face. Haven't showered in a day, so I'm oversharing again. Sorry about that. But I do have another guy. He's my partner in crime, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who keeps Jake's running. I think you know him, Jared. How you doing, sir?
Good. My sister and my father keep Jake's run. I just kind of come in and come out.
He's the spine. He's the backbone. He's the inspiration. He's the love.
My happy place.
Anyway, sorry about that, guys. I need to take a swig of something because my throat is getting a little bit parched. Guys, it's been absolutely a blast here. I've been really excited. I've made so many friends, connections. Got to see so many really cool people. Got to listen to so many really, really cool people. Buka, dude. Oh my God, Buka's amazing.
Yeah, he's a cool story too. I mean, he's got a great product. And that big swim bait universe, the swim bait following is just huge. Your next guest coming on, Phony Frog, same deal, and they've proven to catch big fish.
They've proven to catch big fish. The Buka bait, what's so cool about that story to me was the fact that he goes in Georgia. And if you ever follow the swim bait culture and stuff, it is a very much a California thing. And that came over. The fact that in Georgia, he came up with this idea oh, this is going to work. And he did it in a vacuum. And then the baits that he made. And then, of course, the burrito is really big right now. Tactical bassing really talks about that a lot. And just his whole story is fascinating because the big swim bait bite, guys, it is really catching on for this area. Jared, it looks like you have some baits out that you want to show us.
When we went down to ICAST, we're always looking for something. I mean, obviously there's new stuff always coming out there, but the first one we came across, someone butchered his last name, Bill Sentinel. Again, I butchered his name, I apologize, but the Spro Rat, he's the guy that invented that, and he switched over to Fish Lab, and he came out with a nature series this year that has dropped. We're not seeing a lot. Jake, I believe, ordered it. We haven't received it in the shop yet, but we found it down here. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about this. Be looking for it. Coming to Jake's. I'm sure you can get it online too. It's a whole series. So the first one's called a flutter nymph. Right here with Fish Lab. And this is going to be dynamite on the river. This thing, it's very small. There's a lot of different ways you can rig this. But when this punches through into the water on the Shenandoah River, this is going to be dynamite, even ponds. And it doesn't look like much here, but when you see it in a tank, when it dives down, these little appendages here are just going to be going crazy. Flutter nymph, again, I can promise you it's going to be dynamite on the Shenandoah River. I haven't thrown it yet. I picked up 3 different packs today, and I'm going to be throwing these. I know they're going to work. The second one is a kick and crawl right here, again by Fish Lab. And this one kind of intrigued me too. It's got it almost looks like the hula grub, Yamamoto hula grub on this end, but it's got the different crawl pattern on the end. This thing, I'm looking at this on like a Ned head potentially. And as that falls down, the kick and crawl, I mean, it's Shenandoah River. I mean, even ponds and lakes. And the last one, I don't remember this one, seeing this one down there at ICAST, but the Slamamander.
That's so cool.
When I saw this out of the package, this tail, kind of a boot tail, slender action here. It's going to have great kicking action. Salamander body right here. Got some stuff coming out. Plastic, probably swum, anywhere in the column if you want to throw it on pads on top, get it down in the water column, swim it. Again, I haven't thrown it yet, but I just look at that and I think it's going to be dynamite. The last thing I'll say about this stuff, what was cool about his story, these things he had in a notebook. Bill had in a notebook for probably years, maybe months, I don't know, but when he started in with Fish Lab, they got going through his notebook and he had drawings of this. And the guy pointed out and said, what's that? And he wanted to explain his thought process. Bill was also a fly fisherman. And so he not only throws or designs big baits, but he designed these, smaller baits. He's also got a bird design, which is aerodynamic, used more for punching. But the idea from conception, his thought process, he put it on paper, design. It takes 2 to 3 years of creating it, taking it out, using it in the water, tweaking it, changing it, adapting it. And 3 years later, we now have it in our hands. We see it, we can get it. And so you probably haven't seen this out on a lot of shelves, but I would encourage you to look it up. Again, Fish Lab, Flutter Nymph, Kick and Crawl, and Slamamander. They've also got some other ones too in that series. So I was excited to actually get my hands on it, take these back and try these out. So just, something else to think about as you're getting into the spring fishing time of year, something else to add to your arsenal, work on all bodies of water. So
what is something that you're looking forward to seeing today? Is there anything else that you're looking forward to seeing?
So, for me today, I enjoy going to the bass tank and watching the seminars. I think Carly was referring to it. Those guys get on that tank and then they're throwing lures in there. They're talking about techniques. They're talking about, different things. And, it's just a great way to learn new things. I remember many years ago, the Ned rig, when they were, when that came back around, it's been around forever, but when that was reintroduced, I kind of, well, what's going on here? One of the pros basically said, don't post this on Facebook. And the guy was an older guy. His name's slipping my mind right now, but he said, don't go out and share this because this is the only thing keeping me competitive with the young guns coming into the circuit on the Elite Series. And it was the Ned rig. After that, I started throwing it, and lo and behold, it worked. And it is one of my go-to lures now. But point being, I'm introduced to it here at the Richmond Fishing Expo. at the hog trough, the fish tank. So to answer your question, I'd like to maybe catch a seminar or two down there, and try to learn something new that can help me have success this year in fishing.
Awesome. So guys, yeah, again, we're going to be down here. We're live all day from the Richmond Expo. We're going to be going to the seminar. We're probably going to go back. Also, if you guys want to, did you want us to go walk around and do some more POV stuff for the last day? Again, this is Fishing in the DMV. We are the largest, fastest growing fishing podcast that serves Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia area. Please like the channel right now. I want to try to get this up again to 30 likes on YouTube and Facebook. We are also doing a massive fundraiser for the Casting Kids competition. We had some really cool kids that we got to interview, some winners, but this is only available through donations. A great thing. I'll show you this, guys, real quick, because I thought this was freaking awesome here. Put this up right here for you. These kids are just absolutely freaking adorable. Jared, this what age group was this?
I think they had all age groups. They had from 4 years old to probably looked like about 11 and 12 years old.
And she's 10? Or is she 4? Is she the younger age group?
I forget what she said she was. She told me. I want to say she was 4.
And she won her age group, right, Carly? Or she came top 2. She made the finals. And what's so really cool about this moment, God, I love Jared's smile when she told him. So the answer was the question, what is your favorite fish? And she said,
bass.
The person behind her,
father.
Yeah. Oh, you were there.
He starts fist pumping. Great answer.
And this is only done because of the donations from people like you that the TBF is able to do this thing. We are trying to raise $100 right now online to help them out. Right now, we have over $30 done. So only need $70 more. So all you have to do is use the super chat function on YouTube and you can make a donation. All proceeds go towards the Casting Kids and youth fishing organizations right here. We'll get back right here to this. And we got some more stuff, but wait, there's more. I apparently have dementia because I forgot about this box Jared had. We have swim baits. We have a glide bait. We have jackhammers. Nowadays, with this recession and stuff, these are probably worth $100 right now. I mean, it's insane. So we're going to be giving these away to people that actually ask comments, who engage with the audience, and then we're going to give a major grand prize away to the winner of the super chat. So whoever donates to the club automatically gets a chance to raffle off a gift card to Jake's Bait and Tackle, thanks to Fishing the DMV. So this is how you win. Comment down below, like the page. You have a chance to win a bait that I'll get to you. If you do a super chat to help donate to the youth program, you enter a chance to win a gift card to Jake's Bait and Tackle. So there's multiple ways to win all day with everything that we're doing right now. Sorry, you said?
No, you're good. No, it's good.
Okay.
I was going to throw out a real quick plug for David Smith stopped by before it was open this morning.
Oh, yeah.
Dale City Bass Tackle Show. Look that up. Dale City Bass Tackle Show. It's the 26th annual. It's at the Hillendale Fire Department in Hillendale Drive, Dale City, Virginia. It's going to be February 4th from 8 to 1. That's a Saturday from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can reserve a 10x10 space with 2 6-foot tables. $35 for that if you want to come out and sell. You want to attend, just put that on your calendar. It sounds as if Fishing the DMV may be there as well. So that's a good opportunity. Dale City Bass Tackle Show, 26th annual, February 4th, 8 to 1. Just want to throw that out there. Be looking for that.
And then, guys, we're going to take another 5-minute quick commercial break so I can go to the restroom real quick, and we're going to get you guys some guests lined up. Again, please share this on your private Facebook page if possible. Let's try to get as many people here, and let's try to raise some money for a really good cause.
on my property. You didn't win in my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Ahrens and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Alrighty, guys, we are back live from day 3 of the Richmond Expo. It is a fantastic crowd, and we are here with our next guest. Again, please like and then donate. We have over $40 donated right now to the Youth Casting Kids organization. Our goal is to raise $100. If we do that, they're going to have a fish off between the two individuals that run it. Loser has to jump into the trout pond at the end of the day. Please, dear God, let's get $100 because I want to see that so much. It will be filmed, by the way, but only if we raise $100. We got 40, so all we need is 60. Come on, it's just for the kids. What kind of person are you? Now, we got the next person there. I know it's not a hard sale. It's like, are you a communist if you don't like the kids? But anyway, with that said, we have our next guest on here as I completely botched the camera. There we go. Perfect. See? Jared, technology. The makers, the owners of Phony Frog. And then Jared, my co-host, is all about it, but this is great for me because I don't know a damn thing about it. So, guys, just take it away.
Well, what would you like to know about it?
I pretty like the start. Like, why did you guys decide to do this?
I started, basically, I grew up and was born in Arizona. Started when I was 12 years old. I started building swim baits for my neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
He was a striper fisherman on the Colorado River, so he was having me build big trout swim baits. Which kind of took off in the 90s, the early 90s, for guys out on the West Coast. They started catching these big bass, kind of sort of spawned off with the striper guys. These guys were catching big bass as bycatch, trying to catch striper, and it kind of caught on from there. And so, like I said, I was 12 years old. I moved here in 96 and kind of got shied away from swim baits, got laughed off the river. You know, everybody's asking me, what am I throwing? What am I doing? And so I went back to conventional gear. And fished conventional gear the rest of my time up until, 10, 12 years ago. I'd kind of come into a stalemate where I caught a lot of fish that were 5 to 8 pound fish and just couldn't break over that 8 pound mark. And I was looking for that bigger fish. So, I started thinking back, to my childhood and these big swim baits in the West Coast. And I started watching a guy on YouTube, Butch Brown. He's a famous YouTuber and big bass guy. And, he's fishing these swim baits, and I'm thinking to myself, these fish out here on the East Coast are going to eat them just like they do on the West Coast. There's no difference. And I set out and started fishing some of the available swim baits that were available, to the West Coast guys, and started putting some good fish on it. And I ended up meeting Butch Brown at a classic, and me and him kind of talked, and kind of had some conversation, good ideas crossed, and kind of come to the conclusion, out here on the East Coast, we have a lot of gizzard shad, and on the West Coast they have a lot of trout. So they fish a lot of trout profile baits. Over here on the East Coast, we fish gizzard shad profile baits. We didn't really have anything that was available on the market at the time, so I basically set out and kind of carved and made my own gizzard shad to fish the Chickahominy River and Chickahominy Lake.
Yeah, that's interesting because I talked to Buka about that. We had Buka on the show yesterday, and we were just talking about the cultures of the West Coast guy and stuff, and they are 100% trout eaters over there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where I think that culture originated, if I'm not mistaken, was the West Coast.
Absolutely.
And it is completely different here because it's gizzard, threadfin, and bluegills. Those are the big three over here.
Right.
How did you guys come up with your first design? Like, what out of everything you could pick, why did you pick what you did?
Okay, so just the idea of basically Butch telling me, look, if we don't have trout, I need to, fish something that's a profile that we have a lot of. And we have huge schools of gizzard shads out here. And basically, like I said, I had been fishing available baits like the Depths 250, it's a trout profile bait, and I caught some good fish on it. But one thing I noticed, and he was asking me about, was I seen any followers, and I hadn't seen any followers. I hadn't seen any fish following the bait. And he told me I should definitely be seeing fish following the bait. And when I ended up moving over and making my shad, I ended up taking the shad to the same place where I had been fishing these 250s and trout profile baits. And I actually got to see 2 huge bass chase my bait all the way back up to my feet at the bank 4 different times before they finally left it alone. But yeah, like I said, it just told me right there was the followers. That was what I was looking for.
That's crazy.
Definitely got their attention.
I just want to show this off the screen right here, just to make sure we get with a good camera here. It's absolutely beautiful, the coloration on this thing. And I love how you went with the rubber for the fins to make them almost like transparent. You know, I know with a lot of the ponds and lakes that I fish near me, there are big bluegill eaters everywhere.
So that's the new heavyweight gill 2.5.
2.5?
Yep.
Shoot.
That's been a revised version. I made it last year. Released it at our Gathering 3 event. And it was a little wider profile, a little heavier. Some guys, you know, when you get into these bigger baits, throwing them all day, it puts a wear on your arms and muscles. So had a few guys that were kind of complaining about the weight, so we shaved it down, took an ounce off of the weight, made it from 5 1/4 down to 4 1/4. Sort of slimmed down the profile, made it a little bit more natural of a profile, made it easier to cast, and so now it's a more comfortable bait to fish during the day.
Interesting. So with that, what do you think we should actually be throwing that on? What do you think people should be throwing that on?
Okay, so yeah, they're dedicated swim bait gear to throw this stuff on. There's several companies out there, Brad Vanderpool from F5 and Leviathan, they make great rods. You know, and both of them are good price points. These rods are made for swim baits. They have a parabolic bend. This is something I try to tell guys all the time. You know, it's not a bait that you want to throw on like your jig stick or something like that. It's a treble bait, so it's basically like a giant, oversized crankbait or a rattle, you know, a rattle trap. And they can throw a bait that's trebled, you know, really easy, and especially when it has the weight that it does, it makes it even easier for them to throw.
Now, does this kind of act like a does this act like a glide bait or just a basic swim bait? So it's going to be a twitch.
On a slow reel. I mean, it's got a nice little swim to it, but I mean, you could also give it some pops and just get it glide out.
Because I have some stuff with an S waiver, so that's what I was thinking. Like, is that the same tempo stuff I want to use?
It's got several different actions. Once you get to learn the feel of it and the bait and the maneuvers and stuff, there's several different things you can do. They're very versatile, and you know, it's like he was saying about like the gear. You know, you want to be over prepared than under prepared. You know, you hook a fish of a lifetime, and then you're not prepared for it. It's going to tear your gear up, especially with the fish around here.
And that's a great segue. Why is it people are so terrified to throw big baits? Because I was like, again, I've heard people say like, you should throw a 9-inch. And I was like, oh no, give me a little micro thing. It's like, but the big one is what's going to get the job done.
I think people are just accustomed to throwing smaller baits, you know, and you know, growing up, my grandpa always told me, in the wintertime, you want to downsize, you know, this and that. Well, since I've started doing this the past 6, 7, 8 years, I've noticed the bigger I go in the wintertime, the bigger my fish are getting. So, you know, people they're intimidated by it. You know, I've had guys come into the shops that I've worked in, and they'll buy one, and they'll go out, they'll fish it, you know, 2 or 3 casts, and they'll set it down, and they'll never pick it back up. And it's like, you have to be dedicated to it. You have to dedicate yourself to it.
And that's something too, you know, I think I can touch on that too. You know, this is another thing me and Butch were talking about. And I said, man, Butch had a perfect analogy. You know, it's like, he said, you know, big bass, when they get over a certain size, they stop chasing bait fish of a certain size. He said the reason for it, he said, you know, they can't maneuver to chase a smaller bait fish, so they waste a lot of energy trying, so they're not going to try. He said it's like trying to catch the last minnow in the bucket. He said if you ever try to do that even with your hand, it's hard to do. So he said if you can imagine a 10 or 12, 14-pound bass trying to turn and maneuver to try to catch something like that, he's not going to waste the energy to try. Right. So they actually target bait fish that are, you know, 7 to even 14 inches long. They'll eat 5 or 6, 7 of them in a sitting, and they'll actually lay dormant the rest of their day. So he says they'll get up one time during the day, they eat, and they're done. And that's why you don't see them being caught all the time. They won't even look at anything else once they've gorged themselves and they're full. So, you know, they kind of keep themselves from being caught like that. But by presenting a bigger bait to them, you're putting that bait that's in their food range, what they're looking for. And like I said, the idea is to kind of present it to them at the time when they're ready to get up and gorge and they're ready to eat. And another thing, like I said, these big baits, they draw out these big bass from their holes, so you'll be able to see them. And we've learned over time that, you know, we had a bass that was caught that was a tagged DNR fish that was planted in Chickahominy Lake. It was planted 2 years prior. They got caught in the first year by my buddy, and we've got all the information back. We got the map where it was released. He had caught it like within 50 yards of where it was released. The second year, it got caught again on Phony, and it was caught again within like 50, 60 yards of where it was released. Got caught a third year in a row on the Phony, still within the same area. So that means 5 years that fish never moved. That fish literally stayed in that exact same hole for 5 years. He's the big dog in that spot. He's territorial. He's going to run anything smaller out of there. He's not going to move.
And what size, spitball here, do you think they start becoming that way? 2, 3, 4 pounds, 20 pounds?
No, I think once they're getting up in 7, 8, 9 pounds, that's when they're the territory. They're going to run anything off that gets around them. Yeah, so.
When do you, if you had a kid come to your shop, which bait would be the best for them to get into the big swim bait craze? Is it a threadfin style, gizzard, bluegill? Like, what would you set up a beginner into the swim bait culture?
Yeah, I would say probably the Phony Shiner. It's a little bit smaller profile, little. It's not as tall. It's a little more slender. It's still 7.5 inches, so it still falls in that range that they're looking for. But I think the final weight on it's like 2.5 ounces, where the shad is at 4.9 ounces. So you're almost double the weight on the shad that you are the Shiner. Shiner's going to be a lot easier for a kid to cast and kind of get used to it.
Okay.
And also the Shiner is, you're able to work it a little bit more erratic and fast, and kids don't usually have the patience to fish really slow and methodic. So it's kind of almost a perfect matchup for them.
Gotcha. I mean, guys, again, thank you. I know you're busy right now, but thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. For the people watching at home, if they can't make it, where can they find your products?
Well, we do drops online on Instagram. You can follow my Instagram account, Phony Frogs USA. We have a website, phonyfrogsusa.shop. Unfortunately, the demand for the baits, when we do drops, they usually sell out pretty fast. So there's normally not any product on the site. But of course, this year we're going to try to start traveling around and doing more shows. So hopefully we'll be seeing more people in more states, and they'll be available to them. We're also working with several retailers, McKee Outdoors, Green Top Sporting Goods here in Virginia. Is starting to carry some of the baits, and we've got several other retailers all over the country that are wanting to get them. Awesome, so as we can get to them, we're going to get to them.
That's awesome, guys. Again, guys, please go shop with them. They're a really cool company. They have some fantastic baits, and they really are focused on the East Coast, okay? Trout eaters, we don't have a lot of them here, but if you want to have success with the swim bait, you have to dial it in and match the hatch. We're going to take another 5-minute quick break here, guys. We'll get our next guest. Again, follow them. We'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
on my property. You didn't win shit in my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Ahrens and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
give me your contact, site and everything. It's QR code's right out there. We're all digital.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Fishing
So
the DMV.
We're on everything. YouTube, Spotify, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Very good.
But yeah, text me when we're done here a link to all your stuff,
I will.
and I'll put it in the episode description when we upload.
You got a card with your number? Or just write it down.
Yeah,
I'll bring my phone. I don't have my phone over here. It runs my credit card. My buddy has to run the credit card. So just text me your number. Text me and then I can reply.
You got it.
Yep.
Seconds. Yeah, you can show that on the big screen. I mean, yeah, it's a live stream. Yeah, it's not a studio, so it's not going to be perfect. I'm just too anal.
No, I appreciate doing this. I mean, I don't do all this.
No, I appreciate you. I know you guys are busy as hell, but it's like sometimes it's hard to get. This is a great time to make connections, and hopefully we can do more of a sit down thing. But I like doing pre-recorded, honestly, with chill.
Well, and that is, we can also do something through like Teams or some sort of. Yeah, I can do that kind of
90%
stuff.
of the time, all my interviews are
On my property. You didn't win
nice.
my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Alrighty.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
You're listening
I'll get
to
you a card.
Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Ahrens and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Good afternoon, everybody. We are back here at day 3 of the Richmond Fishing Expo. It's been an absolutely crazy ride, and we got another absolutely amazing guest, Snagler Lures, a guide service. He's on the tank. I mean, he is doing a little bit of everything. You guys really don't care about me, so why don't we just bring him in here right now? How are you doing, sir?
Good. Yes, I'm John Stigler, and I'm the owner of Snagler Tackle and Guide Service. I'm a guide on the Susquehanna River. World-class fishery. If you want to come out and catch some smallmouth, big tanks, that's where to come. What we do is we fish out of jet boats. It's a totally different way of fishing for smallmouth. We average like 40 to 60 a day in the spring, and that's the best time to come, but the fall is also a great time to come. And what we do is we use a lot of the stuff that I've designed for river smallmouth fishing. What I've taken is my experience of being on that river for 30 years and design lures that really imitate the natural food source for the smallmouth. And so you get out there, you get to use my lures, you get out to be able to learn the different techniques, understanding current and understanding the food sources, understanding how the water works, and all the different things that we use to be out there to be very successful. There's a lot more to it than just going out and casting a line. We do a lot of research ahead of time. We do a lot of pre-fishing ahead of time because we follow those schools of fish as they move around during their migratory patterns in early spring as they get into their spawning pattern. So you have any questions on the guide service?
Yeah, first question would be how did you get started? I mean, was it like when you were in kindergarten, you're like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life? Or was it just an opportunity that came?
Well, that's a great question because, I started fishing when I was 4 years old in the canals of southern Florida, believe it or not.
Really?
Yep.
You're a Florida boy?
I am. I'm born in Miami, Florida. And
Dude, okay.
my mom and dad, my dad's from Ohio and my mom's from Alabama. So I'm a little on the southern and the northern side. So, the other thing is, my mom's side of the family, my grandfather was a angler all his life too. He was a lumberman and he fished the Lay Lake and Eufaula because he was living in Clanton, Alabama. So I come from a multi-generational fishing family, and also a lot of my grandfather and my uncle were inventors. And so my uncle invented several lures and eclectic, scents. So I always tell people I have it in my blood.
What did he? Anything in particular that comes to mind that he invented?
A lot. He did this. He's from Ocala, Florida, and he invented an eclectic scent, which is like very similar to the fish oil scents. But he did that 30 years ago before it all came out in more of a mass production. And what he originally did was he was an inventor of horse troughs because he was big into the thoroughbred. So we're very inventive. We think about things, as a family. And so, as being a third generation angler, that's where I fell into this. When we moved up here when I was 7, I walked all the trout streams in northern Maryland, southern Pennsylvania.
Oh, cool.
And that's how I learned how to fish river smallmouth, is because, trout streams are very similar to what we're doing out there. Learning current, learning about eddies, learning about structure, learning about flows of water. Those are all very similar things that we did in river smallmouth fishing.
What about spinning rods? Because I'm thinking Florida bass, braid, heavy crap. But so was the spinning rod going to a fairy wand? Was that different, like making that transition?
Not really. Well, I started fishing out with a cane pole.
Oh, okay. Dang. Okay.
Yeah, that was my first fishing rod. Still have it.
Wow.
It was a 3-piece cane pole. My mom would run me down to the canals, and then we would fish that. With the trout fishing, I was not fly fishing. I was using a spinning rod, and I did bass fishing around the house. One of the things that happened was, I originally went to school for fishery management at Ohio State. And so I originally, that's how I learned how to be more scientific in thinking about how I fish and how I design lures. The other thing that happened was my best friend from college, Jim, he moved over here to the East Coast, and he's an avid angler also. And I was walking the trout streams, and he did the bass fishing, and we got back together after, I think it was like 10 years, and we started fishing these rivers for the river smallmouth. So he was really the catalyst for me to become what I do now. That was back in the late 90s. And so when I started fishing the river smallmouth with him, I had to get a jet boat, because that was, you have to have a jet boat. I run a 18-foot weld craft with a Yamaha 11580 on it, and we can run 35 miles an hour in 4 inches of water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we'll run up to Class 3 rapids on the Susquehanna. Mainly the Juniata has that, but we will run in very shallow water. So I tell my clients, I said, because they'll look down and say, "Are we going to hit something?" And I'm like, "No, we're pretty good."
So at this point, were you still hoping, like, you're doing this for fun? You're still hoping to try to use that degree from Ohio State? How did this whole idea of like, no, I actually want to just chase bronzebacks for a living?
So, yeah, it was an interesting thing, because when I got out of college, I ended up with a degree in criminal justice and pre-law.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so I was thinking about going into fishery into being a water conservation officer.
Oh, cool.
And that was my original intent. But then I ended up getting a job working in a mental health group home. And so that's where I met my wife, had a family. And then I worked in mental health and intellectual disabilities for 23 years, helping people with disabilities.
It's going to be brutal. It's going to be tough.
It's a very tough job. It also is not a high-paying job. So what had happened was, fishing is very expensive, especially when you own a boat and, and all the tackle and everything else. So I started guiding and making lures to pay for my passion, because, my day-to-day job paid for my living. This is the way I paid for my passion. And so I continued to work for the county of Lancaster for just under 20 years, or about 20 years. And last year I decided to semi-retire. I got my pension in place, and I decided to go full-time with this. And now I'm doing this full-time, going around the country speaking. I speak in Boston, Great American Outdoor Show. I do, and then selling lures and doing guide trips. So that's kind of the evolution of how I ended up. I always tell people it took me 30 years to figure out what I wanted to do with my life.
but you figured it out. And with your guide business, is it just you that does everything? Does your wife help you out with the back end? It looks like you have a big group over there helping you out too.
So, well, my wife is into horses, so she does her own thing.
Mine. I'm sorry. Guys, you don't understand. Horses are probably just as expensive, if not more.
Absolutely. I used to tell people is I guide so she can ride.
Yes. The pain is real.
Yeah, exactly. No, actually, what I've done is I've partnered with many other guide services and other businesses, gotcha. And we really help each other out, because what we find is, yes, technically in business world we would be competitors, but when you work together and you do different things, and even with the guides, when we have like 5 guide services we work really well with. We share information because for us, it's all about the client. It's all about the customer getting out there, having a good day. It's not all about the fish. Anybody can go out, not anybody, but, people can go out and catch fish. But how do you make somebody have a good day, even when the fishing's tough, and get them to come back? And you have to be personable. You have to give them a reason to come back more than just the fish. And so all of us have that same philosophy in our business models. And so that's why we have come together. As I said, we bring more people on as we find those. We're very selective in that. Like this year, I'm doing a weekend of my guide appreciation. So we're doing a weekend. We all get together, eat steaks, go fishing.
Nice.
You can bring a +1. We're staying in a big house. So, but that's what it really is about, because, some of the guys who out there, and they're out there on their own, they're not providing the same level of service that those of us who are partnering together, because we're sharing information. And when you're on a big water like we are in the Susquehanna, where it's a mile across, it's 250 miles long, that's a lot of water, a lot of shoreline, a lot of water, and a lot of different structure. And having that ability to work with other people who are willing to share with you, but we also respect each other, that we don't just show up where they're fishing. A lot of times we'll even call each other and say, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm struggling. Hey, come on down here, and come down here and set up with me. That's a huge advantage. Now, we don't work for each other. We own our own company, so that way we're not telling each other what to do.
It's synergy.
Yeah, absolutely. And, working in mental health and doing those kind of things, I find that working cooperatively is much better than working opposing each other. And so we really try to build that business model. I'm really trying to center all that around Snagler Tackle with the guides. And there's such big help to me in selling my product. I always tell people the guides always have 2 potential customers every day for my product. So, and then I also set up a website for people to buy online. One of the things that I do is I don't really mass produce things, because for me, it's about my craftsmanship. And when you start going to mass producing, where you're buying stuff from, other vendors and other contractors, you lose that craftsmanship. And when I talk about my lures, I always call it as functional art, and you'll see that in my spinner baits and the time that I take to put that into them, because when you fish clear water, you want something very realistic. You just throw a chartreuse and white spinner bait out there, you're not going to catch as much as you are going to catch with some of my more realistic, natural presentation baits.
Is that why you decided? Because I know as a guide, let's just say, you have a client who's not skilled, and you may or may not want to be the guy that says, like, I'm going to buy all Megabass jerkbaits then, and I'm going to lose half of them.
Right.
And now I'm in the hole. So it almost is like maybe it would be better to buy mass produced, but you're right. There is a customization thing. So why did you first say spinnerbaits? Why did you think spinnerbaits is the first thing I want to delve into?
Okay, so I'm a spinnerbait fanatic.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, I've liked to catch fish on spinnerbaits my entire life. It is one of the most exciting ways to catch fish. And the power that the smallmouth put behind hitting a spinnerbait is incredible. It'll rip the rod out of your hand. And I like the top water also, but there's the thing about a spinnerbait is very versatile. You can fish it many different ways, and we do fish them different ways based on water temperature, water clarity, and time of year, and what bait fish are running. So that's one of the reasons why I like to do it. But I'm also more of a power fisherman. I like that power fishing, and that's a great way to power fish. It's a great way to cover a lot of water.
Okay. So spinnerbait wise, like, what would you be your top ones if someone wanted to come by your booth right now and pick one up?
So one of my top ones, and I didn't bring the color, is this one here, which is a thin wire. Well, so one of the things I do with my spinnerbaits, let me go over a couple things. Am I good at let me make sure I'm
perfect. And actually, I'll do this for you. There you go. Go for it. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Go for it.
Okay. So one of the things I do with my spinnerbaits is, first of all, it's a hidden head. So this is a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait, but a 1/2 ounce regular spinnerbait. So look at this difference in the size in that. And the reason I do that is because up north, in a lot of the northern lakes and the rivers up there, most of your bait fish are much smaller. So you're matching the hatch. You're always, I'm sure everybody's heard match the hatch, especially the fly guys. If you ever fly fish, it's always about matching the hatch. So I do that hidden head so you get a half-ounce spinnerbait in a 1/4 ounce profile.
That's brilliant.
The other thing I do is I hand tie all my custom skirts. I don't have any manufactured skirts. So what I do is I have a recipe for about 150 different colors, and I put them in. I'm very good on Excel, so I put them in Excel spreadsheets, and so that way I'm always mocking up the same color in the same way.
How long did it take you to be like, this is the color? Is this like a couple of years of just of thinking about it to make this perfect color?
Well, some of it was me, and coming up with the colors. Some of it, like my natural series, is what I would do is take the skirt pattern and lay it out on my tablet and match the skirt coloring up to that bait fish.
Oh,
yeah.
dude, wow,
Yeah.
that's intense.
Yeah, so that's why I call it functional art.
Yeah, no, that's like, that's amazing.
Yeah, so some of it is also standard colors that have been around forever, like your table rock shad, sexy shad, I still make those colors, just a little bit different variation on some of that. And some of it are colors that really, really work in the Susquehanna River and have worked well in those river systems. The other thing that I do, and I this is my appreciation for the guides that I sponsor, like on the New River, the Upper Potomac, the North Branch, and the Susquehanna, the Allegheny, is each of those rivers have different bait fish. So they're the ones offering me, hey, can you make me in this color? So then what I'll do is I'll mock up a color, send it to them, they try it, and if they're successful with it, we turn it into a production model. So I do both custom and production models. My production model is one that you would buy online, already set up, ready to fish. My custom one, and on my website, you can go on there in the next couple of weeks. I had to bring it down because I got to do some work on it. You can actually build your own spinnerbait. So you can actually do your own blade combination. You can do your skirt. You can do however thick skirt you want, whether you want to use the hidden head or more of a standard largemouth size, which is what this is. And that gives people the option to use, and especially the tournament anglers, to use something different than what everybody else is. When you go buy something off the shelf, you're getting the same thing as what everybody else is. When you go to custom, you're going to get a much more, something tailored to your own wants. Because what I find is, when the customers come into the booth here, oh, do you have this spinnerbait in this color, these blade colors? You can never make every blade cover that every customer wants. So it's really about, once again, learning in mental health. It's meeting people what their needs are, and helping them meet those needs in a way that works for me. And so that's why I've been able to do that. The other thing I do is I don't sell to the store, so I'm not mass producing these, with a whole bunch of people. Now, what I do is that, I have some guys who will pull skirts for me, or what they'll do is they'll put the blades on, but ultimately in the end, I'm making the final product. So it's about my craftsmanship.
Now, when it comes to spinnerbaits, to really get in the weeds here, what do you think about trailer hooks with smallmouth?
Okay. Oh, absolutely. So when I'm slow rolling a bait like this is a thin wire. This is what this is for, is more of a slow to medium retrieve. I do put a trailer hook. I also put a small grub on it. And one of the things I do with the trailer hook, this is a little neat little thing. It's called a bait button. Now, for years, we used surgical tubing. And so when we put that trailer hook on there, you got to be able to hold it on, because if you don't put something on there, it just falls right off, right? So the bait button, which I have on my online site, is really cool because it drops this little disc, this little rubber disc down. Yeah. And then all you do is on the applicators, you push that hook through the little disc and then pull it out. Now your trailer hook won't come off.
Holy crap, that is awesome.
So,
can I see that bait button?
Yeah, sure. Right there.
Guys, go to the Sony. So that thing right there. And then this is something that they can buy at your store?
Yep, you can buy at my store. You can also here at Richmond buy over at the Kratz Outdoors, which is one of my partner businesses that we work together. That once again, we're working together as businesses. You don't have to be enemies, in business world. It's better to work together.
That's really neat.
And so they sell that, but also because they sell it, I sell it on my online store also.
Smart.
So,
okay, that's really
and
cool.
they sell it here at the show.
Okay.
So, so when you're slow rolling, so the whole idea, and I talk about this in my seminars, like at the Great American Outdoor Show, which I'll be up there for 9 days doing 2 seminars a day up in Harrisburg. Yeah, it's 200,000 people that go through that show. It's a massive show. Wow. It's a big hunting show that the NRA put on there every year. And so if you hunt, come out, see the hunting stuff, and come over to the fishing area and come and check out our seminars on the hog trough. And I'll talk about the spinnerbait fishing and how to do spinnerbait fishing. But one of the things I do talk about with the spinnerbait fishing, when you slow roll a spinnerbait, what you're doing is you're fishing it usually in dirtier, colder water. And what you're trying to do is bass have lateral lines, and they feel the vibration of that spinnerbait on their lateral line, which runs down the middle of their body. And so what happens is, slow rolling is you're trying to draw that fish to you in a very slow, very slowly, because if they can't see but about 6 inches, you need to be able to draw them to you with that vibration. That vibration draws them to them. 6 inches, they see it and they attack it. But that slow rolling gives them time to find that bait, and being able to find it in that dirtier water. Now, in the summertime, when we and I also do this one. This is a river thump. I use different blades on. These are called turtlebacks, and so they're what they are is they're concave blade.
Is that gold, copper?
That is gold plated. I only use gold plated blades. What I find with the brass is they turn green because of copper and brass, and these are silver plated blades. And I always tell people, the more tarnish that silver plate gets, the better the blade gets, because it almost turns like a rosy color to it.
Oh, that's neat. Okay.
So, and these are, as I said, the turtlebacks, and that's going to be more of your thumper, style, where you're going to get that thump out of it. It's a little bit, and the reason I use these is because in current, you put a big Indiana or Colorado, the current's going to want to push it, lay it over. These have more of a tendency to run more straight in that current. So when it's pushing, it's not pushing it over and rolling it over.
Guys, again, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, I'll get to just a few questions, but not a lot. If you want more answers, you got to be here at the Richmond Expo or go like this guy's social media pages, follow him. Current weight. How do you dictate the weight of your spinnerbait when you're fishing a river?
So, rivers are so variable. What I always explain is in a lake, you fish the same log. It's been there for 20 years. In a river, that log might be there today and gone tomorrow. So because of the variability of it, you have to understand, like you said, is how do you fish what during what time of year? So when the water's very high and dirty, I'm using a 1/2 ounce bait, because when you're slow rolling in that heavy current, and a lot of times when it's cold, they're not in the current, they're in the current seam. So you have the obstruction and you have the current coming around the obstruction. The seam is where the dead water, the eddy, is right here, and the seam is where that dead water and the current meet. Those fish are positioned on the seam because they're waiting for stuff to come by to run out and grab it, then run back into the eddy, so they don't have to expend energy to eat their food. They can sit in that nice dead water, digest their food, and not be harassed by other fish, in a way that they have to constantly be swimming against current. So that's your cold water presentation. In the summertime, everything changes, totally changes. It gets very low and clear out there, and because it gets low and clear, those fish scatter everywhere. In the wintertime, they're very, very specific areas. They want those eddies. They want to be close to those eddies. And as the water temperature gets into the 50s, smallmouth's optimum water temperature is 50 to 65. So as soon as it gets in the 50s, they're now in their optimum temperature. They're going to move out to current because they're going to be more comfortable in current, especially when the water starts coming down. And it's in the summertime, what we do is we fish these little things they're called boosters. Has a 3/8 ounce, but I thin the skirt out. I use a 3.5 and a 3. And what we do with these is we use a 7-to-1 or 8-to-1 reel ratio to burn these just below the surface, that far below the surface. Not quite waking it, just below the surface. And what you're looking for in clear water is that reaction strike. So what they do is it's almost like the dog and the squirrel. The dog's running down, happy as can be, and sees the squirrel, and they target it in, and all they can see is the squirrel. It's the same thing with these is, it runs past a smallmouth, and they could be 30 feet away because it's that clear. They see that, and all they think about is that bait because they're reacting to it. So they sight fish in the summertime when it's clear. So that's when you really use your more natural colors. This is one of my favorites, the Southside Slammer. We probably caught 100 19-inch fish on this year.
Wow.
At least on my boat. And then all my guys use this, and everybody uses this. This can be fished on I was catching them in Maine on this. I was catching them in Tennessee on this. This is a versatile. Anywhere you have gold shiners, this is the one to be using. This has a nice purple to it.
How do you, and this is just big picture of angling, with the spinnerbait and the swim baits catching on, and you got your crankbaits, like how do you section off in your head when you're going to throw what? Because I feel like with the swim bait, it really took a place, at least on the pro tours, as with the spinnerbait. And the spinnerbait fell out of favor for a lot of tournaments. When you're out there, how do you decide when to throw what?
Well, a lot of it has to do with tailoring my trips to my customers' abilities. So you have to remember is not all my clients have the same abilities as what I do. You can't take people out and expect them to fish the same way you do because they may only get out once or twice a year. Good example this year is I had 2 brothers out. They've never fished in their life. They never held a fishing rod. Yeah, and so I had to teach them how to cast a spinning rod, which is your easier way. Bait caster is much more difficult to learn how to do, but I can teach those clients in 15 minutes how to cast a spinning rod. So when we went out there, we were fishing crankbaits because you can fish a crankbait with a spinning rod much easier than the spinnerbait. Spinnerbait's very difficult to fish with a spinning rod. So when I tailored that to them, taught them how to cast it, the one brother had 25 and the other one had 20, and they had never held a fishing rod in their life.
That's awesome.
So that to me brings, the great satisfaction to what I do is watch. You get to the point when you're out there fishing, and this is for me personally, this is my opinion, and everybody's different. I got to the point in my life and in fishing life was I go out there and catch tons of fish. What's the next step? What's the next step in the evolution of where you want to be as an angler? And for me, it was more about teaching people and taking people out for the day of wonderful recreational fishing and taking somebody who's never been out and giving them that opportunity and then driving that passion. I've had a lot of anglers come out. They don't fish hardly at all. They're regular clients now. Now they're fishing their local waters now. And we're driving that passion for angling. It's going to be so important. I do a lot of work with the state on I used to. I haven't been lately with conservation and water pollution and things like that. We need anglers who think about things like that because we don't have our rights to the water. If we have dirty water, we're not going to have those fishing opportunities. The only way to do that is have as many anglers out there as possible because they are voters. They are the ones who go out and vote and vote for people who are going to make policies that are going to be protecting our waters, not destroying them.
Mm-hmm. Amen to that. And I don't really want to keep you all day. What we're going to do though, guys, is we're going to collaborate in the future. We're going to do a legit podcast episode when we don't have the craziness and we can sit down and have a deep dive. Is there anything else? If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
All right. So I have a website that everybody can go on there and order any of these items. I also do soft plastics for smallmouth and all kinds of different things. Most of my stuff is tailored toward the river smallmouth, but they do catch a lot of largemouth. I do largemouth fishing also. I had spinnerbaits. I had a 6 and 2 5s this year on largemouth, and I'm not even a largemouth guy, So, and snakehead, I'm actually going to be starting making some more lures for snakehead. I've been doing more snakehead fishing.
That's a cult following that
you yeah. That's why I'm getting into it. And they're so good to eat. They're an excellent fish to eat.
Really good.
So my website is www.snaglertackle.com. It also goes, if you go on there, you can also do a contact me, or you can email me at snaglertackle@outlook.com.
Awesome. Guys, thanks again for watching, and then thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.
And again, we're going to do more of a long form podcast like we usually do on the channel in the future this year. It's just been an absolute great weekend, but I'll let you get back to what you're doing great. Again, guys, link in the episode description on the re-upload to everything. So if you want to go out with him, you can. If you want to buy a tackle from him, you can. Again, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back on the channel.
on my property. You didn't win in my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Ahrens and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Everyone that we've had on right now, please like and
started
subscribe
young.
to the
He also
channel.
kind of
And
runs
also,
the
if you
group
could,
of guys
really
who
think about donating to
He's
the
kind of
youth
challenging
program that the Bass Federation is putting on.
You know,
We are trying to raise it just a measly $100. Right now we have $40. We just need a couple more donations to be able to hit our goals.
right. So
We
you know, it's
have
like Ken and these
let's
guys.
see the whole schedule of who
you
we
get
have
what-
coming on right now.
Am I-
You guys are fine. You guys are fine. We got Heroes on the Water coming on at 1 p.m. And then we have a special handcrafted wood bait individual coming on at 2:30. And then at noon, 12:30, we have another individual coming on to talk about his baits as well. So we have tons of guests right now. More are coming every day. Again, guys, this has been a fantastic time. I want somebody to comment. I see that we have over 100 people in the chat right now. Could somebody please talk to me? Somebody say something in the chat right now. I need somebody to talk to. Good God, you guys are bad at talking today. What's going on? Carly Bird, I guide so she can ride. What a hero. 100%. That makes him one of the best ones out there. Crack open a beer real quick. Perfect. I guides that she can ride. I absolutely love it. It's such a great one. Let's see. Roger Merritt. Roger Merritt, if you're still here, how's the volume right now? Is it doing pretty good? Hopefully it's doing pretty good. That, and then what we're going to do is I am going to switch our extra camera to Camlink Perfection. That's on it.
I do the something so she can do the riding.
I absolutely love that. Let's see. Roger Merritt. Hold on a second. We got Roger Merritt right there. He says the volume is really good right now. Thank goodness, because it was bad for a while. Sorry about that. Scott. Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. Listen, I took it. Scott, how was the volume on the Mike Bucca? Was it good? Because I took it offline because I thought the volume was bad, and I was going to re-upload it with better volume. Scott, let me know in the comment section. If you thought the volume was okay on the Bucca, I'll make it public again. I just didn't know if the audio quality was good enough. So, yeah, Scott, let me know in the comment section down below. If you think the Mike Bucca audio was good enough, I will upload the video. I'll switch it to public again. Let's see. And we got Roger. We got great volume. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that. So we're going to do this for our super chats. Scott Fowler, you just won a jackhammer chatterbait. Scott Fowler, you just won a jackhammer chatterbait. Congratulations. Brian Solis, let me know. You also just won a jackhammer chatterbait as well. Congratulations, sir. Let's go. We'll get somebody else here. Carly Bird has won dinner tonight.
It blew my mind.
So freaking good.
I got so she can ride. Boy.
How can you not like that? That was so much fun.
Is this yours?
Yes, mine. As I dumped it on the floor right here, it's like, oh, fantastic. But it's just bubbly water is all we got there. Let's see what we got going on. I told you guys all that stuff. Dude, my mind is actually blown from how much stuff we've gotten done this weekend. It's absolutely insane right now. Let's see. Again, Scott, if you're in the comment section, do you want me to put the Mike Bucca video back up? Please let me know. And I will do that for you. Let's see. We got that going. Perfect. Where is that person? Probably should tell Jared that as well. So, all right, we got another guest that'll be coming on, and then I have the. You're right there. So we have one more guest coming on at the noon hour, and then we have Heroes on the Water coming on at 1 p.m., followed by Wood Baits with Mr. Heedley Lures. It's a really cool guy. And then we got a couple more special guests coming on. Again, guys, all we need is $40 more, and then we get a guy that jumps into a trout pond. That's going to be a lot of fun. So please come in with that. Let's see right there. We got another one. Jimbo Slice, what's up, fellas? Doing really well.
We have Tiger Baits coming on next.
Tiger Baits. We have Tiger Lures coming on here real shortly. Then after Tiger Lures, we're going to re-upload something else. All right, Scott, if it's good, hold on a second, Scott. The power of phones right now. Scott Kling, thank you so much. So, dude, what I'll do for you, because I think you're super special and all, I'm going to go to the streams real quick and video.
There's your intro for Tiger.
Boom. It's up. All right, Scott, just letting you know that the video is right back up. No problem. You can now go see the Bucca one. I just made it available for you guys again. Scott, jackhammer. Yep, you get a jackhammer. Congratulations. I'll take a free jackhammer 8 days a week. Yep, congratulations. Well, thank you, Scott. I really appreciate it. We're trying to raise money for a really good organization here. Again, Scott, the Mike Bucca one is up. What I'll do is tonight I'll upload a brand new polished version of it either tonight or tomorrow. That way you guys have that for your viewing pleasure. Carly, what did you send me?
And hold on. You get a rod and reel. And you get a rod and reel. That's yours, buddy. All right, everybody look up and smile. Got happy parents? No, I'm not getting in there.
What was the secret to casting?
I try my best.
That's exactly right. Try your best. You like fishing?
Yeah.
Do you? What do you like to fish for?
Bass.
Bass? You like catching bass?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 4.
4 years old. How about high five right there, girl? Hey, you keep working on that, okay?
Okay.
Your goal is to catch bigger bass than the boys, all right?
Yeah.
That's right. That a girl. You put the worms on the hook too?
Mhm.
All right. This girl knows how to fish. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did this.
That's all right. Where do you want me to sit?
Right there's fine.
All righty.
All right, sir. We got 3 minutes.
Go ahead, brother. They sent me over here to do it. That's fine. Yeah, it has been busy. Y'all been busy? Yesterday we could hardly walk over there. It was just... Yeah. Come on. No, you. Just a shoulder. There you go. All right. Well, tell them to whirl them on. You can do it if you want. Huh? Yes, I can.
You're going to do all the talking. I'm not talking.
That's fine.
You're gonna have to do this next question.
Yeah.
Even if you did say something,
We just crank it up, and then you'll do breathing back here.
we got a minute.
All right.
Have you heard of our podcast?
I don't think we have, to be honest with you. Yeah, all the time.
Turned into a big YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. Got you. Sure, if you give that to Heidi, then we know how to get it, because we do a Warren Way of Fishing on YouTube. We're one of his sponsors in that. And so...
Part, so we,
Yeah.
But I'm trying.
You guys are doing crankbaits?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Tiger crankbaits. No, sir. They're custom painting them. Yes. Yes, indeed. We do repaints. And
Perfect. You're good.
We're on.
You ready?
5, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, guys. We've got Tiger Crankbaits here. Where are you guys
Good
from?
morning, Chesterfield, Virginia.
Chesterfield, Virginia.
Yes,
so right
indeed.
here in the Richmond area.
Right out of the Richmond area.
How long have you been doing this gig?
We've been dabbling with them. It's been a while, but really full time, really fooling with it. It's been about a year now.
Okay, good.
Relatively new. We just jumped in it like usual fishermen. You want to change up some stuff with markers and nail polish and stuff. And then we really got serious about painting, and I can tell you we really love it. My wife and I custom paint every bait that we do.
That's awesome. So Greg and Heidi with Tiger Crankbaits out of Richmond. So that's a lot of, you have a lot of this. I think we always have, but there's a lot of people getting into the market. It's a competitive market. But what you said, I think, is good. If you enjoy doing it, it's not so much a job if you really enjoy what you're doing. And so talk a little bit about what you've got here.
Yes, we carry a full line. And we do a lot of custom painting.
Okay.
If you have baits that are discontinued,
right,
or you've got Old Faithful that's gotten all scratched up and beat up,
that's right.
We can make him shine like a new Cadillac once we get a hold of him. And we do it from start to finish, from the blank all the way through the dipping, the snap rings, the hooks, the boxing. It's her and I. And her brother, Harvey Reese, is our pro staffer.
Okay.
And we have several. Ricky Falker is a pro staffer. Okay. He's the Bassmaster Opens.
Ricky Falk?
Ricky Falker,
I know Ricky Falk.
Yeah,
he's been on the show. Great guy.
He's a pro staffer. Jeremy Snow, another great guy.
All right.
He's a good friend of ours and just great. That's another thing about this is you meet a lot of great people.
Yes, sir. That's
a lot
exactly
of great
right.
people.
It's a great industry.
Yes. But, we try to do a big round to cover everything. And what I was saying, as a Tiger Crankbaits, we'll go anything from top water stuff to all the way to there.
Right, the big deep crank.
That's right. So what we like to say is we got you covered from top to bottom.
There you go. That's right.
And everything from glide baits.
Okay.
And that's one of our larger 9-inch glide baits. And then her favorite is crawfish.
Okay.
And she is a custom painter for crawfish. This is one of her new colors that's come out. And people love it. We were sold out before the show opened.
Wow.
With different folks in the fishing. So,
That's a great color.
And there's a new frog we've come out, a hard-bodied frog. And we had some fellas yesterday ask us how good does it swim. So Harvey, a pro staffer, he borrowed a rod from the nice people at the Federation, tied it on and throwed it in the trout pond. And it has action to it.
Is that staying on top, or is that?
When it sits on the water, it sits just like that.
Okay.
The only change is going to be made to it. We just put that on for the show.
Right.
It's going to have a keeper hook on the back, split tail grub to give it that leg effect.
Interesting.
And then these are also done in any color, black, the frog color. If you want it pink with a purple stripe down the middle of it, we can make it happen for you.
So do you guys have a website where people can find you?
They're working on the website now. We're on Facebook.
On Facebook's the best way to find you.
Yes, indeed. Tiger Crankbaits on Facebook.
I had a question too, like you said about if you take their lure and redo it, what's the best way? I guess they send that to you.
Yes, sir.
Give you correspond with you, and give them the color pattern and everything else, and then you go ahead and paint it up and send it back to them.
Yes, indeed. You get in touch with us. If you send us the bait, is even better.
Right.
But if you snap a picture of it, and it's always better to snap a side, a bottom, and a top for us.
Right.
And if you want to change your eye colors, if you don't want a shad spot on it, you want it a little lightened up here.
Right.
You're the boss of it, and you tell the specifications of how you want it, and we make it happen. And if we present it to you and you don't like it, we sand it back down and we will redo it till you are 100% satisfied.
That's good. That's important. So follow them on Facebook, and that's a good market. We knew of some people that were doing that, and they got out of it.
Yes.
Like I say, you hear about a lot of people doing that, but it's great. You guys are local. You're Virginia, regional. And so that's a great market to be in, and they look quality. They look really
Thank
good.
you. Thank you.
What made you decide to want to get into this?
Well, we've always been into tournament fishing
Okay.
and stuff like that. I've fished since I was a small kid. Our pro staff folks, which one of the pros, Harvey, is her brother, and he's the director. He used to be one of the directors of the Federation tournaments. Okay. He runs the Cat Team Winter Series. He runs his own tournament series, so we sponsor that also.
Right.
So, and we've just friends upon friends. I mean, I've seen folks that I fished with 20 years ago at this show that I haven't seen in 20 years, and we still got the same old stories and, about how we almost run the boat on the mud flat back in 1991 or something. Right. So we never forget all those old memories, and I think that's what fishing's all about.
It is.
Great
There's
memories.
No shortage of stories when it comes
that's
to being
correct.
on the water.
Whether fact or might be a little misleading. That's a whole nother show.
That's exactly right. So this is, I'm assuming that after being in a year, this is your first time at Richmond setting up a booth?
First time at Richmond setting up.
Now they didn't have the last 2 years, but how do you, as a vendor, how was it? Was it a good experience
Loved
for
it.
you?
Yes.
Amazing
experience.
And like you said too, met up with some old people, probably met a lot of new people.
Certainly did.
A lot of networking that happened as well.
Yes, it does.
So,
yeah, it's great. And the shows that we do are a lot of times are at tackle stores. Like
right.
We do 2 Saturdays, at least 1 Saturday a month at Dance's Sporting Goods in Colonial Heights.
Okay.
Walter Dance is gracious enough to let us come in and do a setup. It's on a little smaller scale because we don't want to cover his counter up and where you can't see his reels. Some other stores, and it's just great. Pat's Sporting Goods in Chester, Virginia, another one. And we just really, really enjoy it. And it goes again, we see a lot of people that we've known for years.
Yes.
Like, man, what in the world are y'all doing in this mess?
Yes.
And
I think it's so important too. Like my dad has Jake's Bait and Tackle, and you hear all about, you hear about local, support local.
Yeah.
And that is so important in today's age. Your big box chain stores, and the mass production of things, it is hard. They drive the prices down. You may have to pay a little bit more for this stuff, but what I think is so important about that is you are supporting.
That's correct.
You're not supporting local. You're supporting people like yourself.
That's correct.
And small business owners that are out there making a living as well.
That's correct.
And so I do believe that's so important. And there's something. And if we don't do that, I always hear this too. Those small mom and pop shops and stores. And people like yourself, they're going to go by the wayside.
That's right.
And we won't have them anymore. And that, when you say small, there's nothing wrong with that. It's intimate. A lot of times in those places too, you can get what you need, or if they don't have it, they'll get it for you.
That's right.
Or direct you to where you can get it. And like you said before too, the other important thing is the relationships that you build, and the connections that you build, which is also important. What is your kind of price point on I know they're all different depending on the size and the lures.
Prices on your retail bait, you're going to be looking at about $15 for this.
Mm-hmm.
Same as a frog. Most of, as a general rule, it's going to hit around 15.
Okay.
Now, when you start going up to the bigger swim baits, you're going to be up there 65. We do smaller versions around 30, and then we even do some. We do some ultralight stuff because not everybody's into tournament fishing.
Right.
People like pond fishing, which is great also.
Right, that's right.
So, and we like that. Children love smaller baits. You're guaranteed you're going to catch at least a brim or a crappie.
That's right.
A day of taking
right.
a young child and say, we're going to go worm fishing, and you sit out there like, this is boring.
Right.
You let them at least catch some brim or a crappie or some small bass. You keep their interest and work them up to that point. And then that's how we came along like that.
That's exactly right.
You don't start out being Roland Martin catching 8-pounders at Okeechobee, and he didn't either. So
the thing about that too, though, that I'm intrigued by is like even talking to Timmy Horton yesterday when they were doing the kids casting over here, and you watch a young kid at 4 or 8 years old or whatever, casting and just that love and passion for fishing.
Sure.
And I asked Timmy Horton, I said, when did you get your start in fishing, right? And he said about 8 years old on his grandfather's pond. And so, it's interesting because I think sometimes, there's a lot of discussions about, when you look at the elite level or professionals, these tournament guys, we're seeing them now as when they've made it big. Well, What we forget though is they didn't just start there. They started just like you're saying.
Yeah.
You and I. Now they may have, you know, be more gifted and get that bait further back under the dock, or have the mindset to catch fish on a consistent basis. But the point being, they're just like you and I as far as they put their pants on one leg at a time.
That's correct.
And the shared thing is the passion for fishing, like going after fish, catching that fish, like you said, where it's the brim, the crappie, the bluegill, or a bass. You know, that's what we all get excited about, young or old, male or female, it doesn't matter. That's what we're
and it's great. Like the federation is like your grassroots.
That's right.
And they do the high school tournaments, and we always be sure that we always donate baits to that. Right. You know, and we have the guys that take them out, their captains. They're like, well, how much do I owe you? No, it's the kids coming up, and they had made us aware, and I didn't realize that, but a lot of kids come up and they don't have a lot of stuff to fish with, and these boat captains are giving them you know, we call them old rods and reels. It's just stuff that's not the more updated, but it's certainly nothing wrong with it. It gets the job done just as well as a $400 rod and reel, you know. So
no, you're so right. And the other thing too, I'll point out is, you know, when you talk about custom, and those are really great colors. You guys got great quality in that.
Thank you.
You know, that's one thing about custom, again, that you can't find, I always say, at a Bass Pro shop, and it's not to knock Bass Pro, but you know, those big box chain stores too, they're just getting regional orders a lot of times.
That's
and
correct.
They're not, you know, like for us, to use example, a river system, Shenandoah River, where we're from, you know, or Potomac River, you know, the forage in that water,
correct.
like you know, a big thing like crayfish. Everybody talks about crayfish colors. You know, a basic green pumpkin might have a, you know, orange tint or a blue hue, or, you know, so same thing with the bait fish. So your ability to, this is what I think is fascinating. I know we have some custom, you know, guys tying jigs or hair jigs. And one thing he does, Rogers Jigs, you know, he takes crayfish out of those river systems and takes pictures of them right away, right out of the water, to make sure, like you said, several angles to try to match, you know, that color scheme. The trout fishermen, you know, dubbed the term "match the hatch."
That's correct.
And you know, I think we can learn a lot from that when you think about fish.
That's correct.
In your area and what they're feeding on. And what I'm getting to is, you know, you have that ability to be able to, people send you pictures, match what's in that body of water. That it's not that you can't catch fish with other things, but you know, that can help maybe increase your chances.
And like the
of success.
crayfish go through different stages. I mean, you can just tell the difference in these two baits. And they'll do white bellies, purples. I mean, so they come up with a lot of different colors. And that's the good thing in our line of work. If you say you love the shell on this, but I sure wish that was a whole lot oranger. Well, that's where we come in. We can make that oranger and put that shell back.
That's right.
Or if you want it white, you want it purple. You know, that's where the custom painting, that person who is really, really in tune with what he wants and feels confident, we're the folks who can make that happen.
I was just talking to another guy about, you know, spinner baits and, you know, working at bait and tackle shops selling minnows. You know, I talk about this often too. The minnows, the shiners, before they die or as they're dying, they begin to bleed out.
That's
Usually
correct.
in the gill plate and usually on the stomach or belly of the fish. And so sometimes too, that, like you're saying, that red, and they've done them, I've seen them a lot on jerk baits mostly, but you know,
that's
sometimes
correct.
they're adding a red hook they talk about, but you know, sometimes that little subtle difference, you know, is, can make a difference as well.
We've got one, we do foil baits also in the gold foil, silver, and copper. And we've got one in a crankbait that just like this, and we call it a hybrid. And how that crankbait came about, it was getting gold foiled. I picked up the wrong piece of foil, and it was silver. And I rubbed it on, and I was sitting there looking. I think I was looking at Bill Dance or something on TV, but I wasn't paying attention. I looked down, I was like, rats, I've done put the wrong piece of foil. So I was taking a brush, and I kept brushing it. Well, the more I brushed it, the better it looked, so I added another piece. By the time I finished with it, it looked like a minnow in a bucket. That, you know how they'll get the scales knocked off them and they look all kind of roughly looking?
That's right.
That bait turned out looking like that, and we call it our foiled hybrid bait. And people love it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it looks like a roughed up bait fish.
And that takes me to like anglers are all about consistency and everything looking exactly the same, but you take fish out of the water, there's no two that look alike.
That's
either.
right. That's
so,
right. That's exactly
we
right.
get confidence in something, we want to stay with that. But I like that idea too, that subtle differences in that pattern
That's
or in
correct.
that color, it's true of a fish. You're exactly right.
That's right.
Perfect in nature.
And you get
right.
shad and stuff like that. Not all shad has a perfect round dot.
Right.
And it might be
That's
sitting back just a little bit.
Exactly.
Yep,
little thing. That's kind of like too on plastics when like a pincher, like a hula grub, if one of them comes off, like I got to change it because in my mind, but I see crayfish all the time with one pincher.
That's right.
Hanging out there and they haven't grown.
You're exactly right. I think sometimes people would overanalyze it,
right.
but it gives us that confidence, and especially
exactly
if you catch another fish off it. Well, I found the secret thing.
Right.
No, you probably didn't. It was just coincidence.
That's right.
And that's a great
One of the last
thing.
things I'd ask you about crankbait fishing, like technique, what for maybe anglers new to the sport or whatever, just tell us a little bit about like the bills and how that relate, like a square bill versus a regular one, and then different depths of a crankbait. Like what should fishermen or anglers be thinking about when it comes to actually fishing a crankbait?
Sure, your square bill bait's similar like this one. You're going to tend that a square bill when it's diving down, it's going to get, when you come to structure, you hear a lot of people say, I don't like using crankbaits because I get them hung up and I lose them. I don't like losing them. Well, the thing, folks, when this comes down and you feel that bump, you're going to start learning the difference in what a fish feels like to that bump. So you don't drive down on it. That's going to hit and it's going to back up, slight little crank. And you can come right, or you can fish these things in some of the nastiest color. Think about this. A lot of people are intimidated about throwing a crankbait in heavy cover, so they're going to throw plastics.
Right.
All these fish see is plastic, 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 plastic. What does he think when that comes rolling through? And when you take the rounder bills, of course, the bills are going to give you your difference in depths. Now, this is extreme, but then just always remember the longer, the more depth that you're going to get. Weight of your line controls depth. You throw this bait on 20-pound test, which you probably couldn't, it's not going to run that far. Throw it on 4, it's going to take off on you. So that's things to take into consideration. Length of cast. You throw it 50 feet or you throw it 60, you're getting more wind down to it. So there's a lot. All of them have their places in fishing. I fish with both. I like both. There's certain times that I will go, I want my square bill for this, round bill for that. And this is another one, and a lot of people get caught up on this. Just because I have my own line of crankbaits, that doesn't mean that I don't tie a bandit and a Rapala and stuff and fish with it. You ask any pro, they just don't fish. I don't limit myself on it, and all of them are great baits. And we just have our little niche, but all of them are great, and all of them are fantastic to fish with.
That's great. Another little thing I would say, too, that you mentioned that made me think, obviously we think of that profile and they look like a fish, and a lot of that is the fish forage. But you said earlier you're talking about a crayfish pattern, and the thing people don't realize either, river guys realize this on the river, they want that thing as a crayfish. When a crayfish swims, the difference of a crayfish in a defensive position versus one that's fleeing.
That's right.
When that thing is, when you can dig that thing in off the rocks, off the bottom, and it's bouncing off and it's kicking up dirt, it is simulating those crayfish that are fleeing.
That's right.
Bass, it triggers that bass. So to say, it could be two forages. It could be a bait fish. It could be the crayfish. Sometimes the fish, who knows?
That's
it
correct.
may or may not know. It just knows it's food, it's forage, I'm going to eat it. So that's something, too, that I think a lot of people don't realize.
Yes, and another thing, a gentleman showed me many years ago, a fellow by the name of Graham Toddy in Chesterfield County. Graham was a great fisherman. Unfortunately, Graham passed away years ago, but he big into crankbait, showed me how to vertical jig. I'd never vertical jigged before. But he told me, he said, when you are fishing a crankbait, if it is not hitting something, grinding in the bottom, he said, you might as well sit the rod down and pick you up a jig or something. He said, if it's not hitting, dragging, He said, if it's just coming through the water, just swimming, he said, you're not to say that you won't catch fish. He said, it is better when it is grinding, it's hitting, it's making noise, because when it hits structure, it deflects and it starts acting weird, and there's your strikes, that reaction strike.
Yeah, that's right. And
So,
that's why, too, when talking about depths, just having, not to sell more stuff, but it is, you want to have those different depths to cover, depending on where you're at. If you're fishing shallow, 2 to 4, 5 to 7, going deeper divers.
That's right.
Depending on that water that you're fishing in,
That's
to
correct.
cover that. And they were talking yesterday in the tank too, where the fish are relating. They might be slammed on the bottom.
Yeah.
If you got a high pressure day or something, they're going to be deeper in the water column.
That's correct.
They might have worked up more. So, and you have top water there as well. So
top waters, a lot. We have walking baits.
Okay.
Poppers, a lot of different, smaller sizes, bigger sizes. So like I said, we try to cover the spectrum.
Sure.
So we kind of, instead of just having 5 different baits, we want to see if we can have something for everybody to fish with.
Right.
And that's the way we approach it. And, back again on the depth, where we live in Chesterfield, we're closer to the James.
Right.
And we do the Chickahominy. So we always joke and call ourselves river rats.
Right.
All right. And you're fishing tides. So when that tide drops out.
Tide and current,
So you can start with your depth, start going back and forwards on stuff like that. So, and that's another thing to take consideration, because, Gaston's going to stay within an inch. Bugs, of course, you could be fishing in the woods or you could be fishing in the desert, depending on the water levels.
Right.
So, and that's another thing, you have to cover the gamut on it.
That's right. That's exactly
to be
right.
successful.
What would you recommend? Last question. What would you recommend for those 2 body of waters, like the James or the Chick? What would be your preferred?
The James is the typical fire tigers, crawfish reds, yellows. It looks a lot of bright colors. You'll do like Chickahominies, very similar in regards. You can swap off a little bit. Bugs Island, the Gastons, of course, you're going to go back. Not that fire tiger won't catch him out of the bugs. Then you start going back to that match the hatch, some shads, some blues, chromes, colors like this that match the shad and stuff like that, a color like this, So that's what you're looking at in places like that, typically. Not to say that you can't take a weird bait and catch stuff. Yeah, it can be done.
And I lied. Last question.
Yes, sir.
Time of year, when is, that's another thing we don't think about. I heard somebody talking the other day about the surprise a spinner bait would still work. I would imagine he's pretty much could be fished year round. They probably either spring and fall are probably better times, but
you're correct.
You could still, especially if you downsize maybe in the summer or winter.
Yes, sir. Then it gets hot. Instead of beating the stumps, hey, start moving out in that deeper water.
Right.
And we won't go into the live scoping thing. We don't want to offend anybody. I'm cool with it, but hey, it's a different tool to get out in that deeper water.
For schooling fish.
So you're not, you're not beating the stumps like everybody else. You're out there and you're showing another product to fishes sometimes might not have ever seen the bait.
That's awesome. Well, guys, Greg and Heidi from Tiger Crankbaits out of Richmond area. Look them up on Facebook and reach out to them. If you have any needs, custom needs on your crankbaits, see what they have in stock to serve you. And that's what I love too. Again, just like the last thing we said, they're focusing on those waters of the James and the Chick that a lot of people love to fish. And so, just look them up, support them. And we want to thank you for coming on and thank you for being down here and appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
People will look you up and start throwing your crankbaits.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having us. And folks, do yourself a favor. Come on and get the tiger by the tail with Tiger Crankbaits. Thank y'all.
Like
good fishing.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, buddy. Thank you.
Wait a minute.
I done got y'all hooked up in the... Yeah, I got you. Sorry about that. We didn't
Let me
tear it.
have the box so you don't.
So I get it in my finger. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you having us.
I follow you on Facebook. Yeah, I'm like one of the big likers. One of those who's ever gonna shut up. Thank you.
All right, keep dancing. Guys, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. So we just had another donation from a person here
All we are looking for now is $20. We need $20 more donated, and we'll hit our goal for the youth fishing program. We really appreciate everything you guys are doing right now to help us out. Again, we're going to take another commercial break here shortly, and then we're going to be going to our next interview. This has been absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So this is what we're going to be doing. Focus on me, guys. Focus on me. Focus on me. I have to shut this live stream off because our next guest is remote, okay? So I want you to bear with me. We are coming back at 1 o'clock with our next guest, okay? 1 o'clock with our next guest. It's going to be an absolute great one. So I'm going to shut this live stream off again, but bear with me. In like 10 minutes, we're rebooting back up. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon.